Tariffs this Friday night. The turmoil across Canada, where trade talks stand.
Our Prime Minister has been working very diligently on this particular file.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney have spoken, and we are getting limited information about that call from a readout from the Canadian side.
They don't like it. They like resolution, but they'd also like another. They want the right kind of resolution. They want a deal that makes sense for Canada, that makes sense for...
The world rarely shifts with noise. More often, it happens in silence, with moves unnoticed until they're irreversible. Picture this. A massive tanker glides out of Canada's Pacific coast, filled with liquefied natural gas, bound for Asia. No breaking news banners, no speeches. Yet this single voyage ends 75 years of energy history. For the first time, Canadian fuel is leaving without passing through American hands. This isn't just trade. It's a structural break in North America's old order. For decades, Canada supplied the U.S. almost exclusively. Nearly 90% of its oil flowed south, stabilizing American markets and keeping fuel cheap. Washington called it partnership, but it was really dependency. Canada had few choices, one buyer, little leverage. That changed in 2025, when Washington slapped a 35% tariff on Canadian energy. It expected Ottawa to fold. Instead, Canada accelerated a project years in the making, an $18 billion LNG terminal in Kitimat, British Columbia. Just as tariffs hit, it was 98% complete. Within days, the first shipments sailed directly to Asia. A quiet revolution had begun. To grasp its weight, recall history. During the 1973 oil embargo, America suffered fuel shortages and economic shock. Since then, it relied on Canada as its safety net, nearly 5 million barrels a day, with 80% flowing south. That steady supply shielded the U.S. from Middle Eastern wars or Venezuelan unrest. Now, that safety net is unraveling. Pipelines once locked into America are redirecting across the Pacific. The Trans Mountain expansion already sends over 200,000 barrels a day to China. LNG makes the shift even bigger. In liquefied form, gas shrinks 600 times in volume, making ocean transport practical. From British Columbia, tankers reach Asia in half the time it takes from the Gulf Coast. For buyers like Japan, South Korea, and China, that speed means security. For Canada, it means leverage. The Kitimat terminal alone can ship 14 million tons annually, with plans to double. Every tanker carries enough fuel to power a city for a week. And the contracts being signed aren't short-term, they stretch for decades. Canada locks in higher Asian prices, often 40% above U.S. rates, while America loses access it once assumed permanent. This isn't retaliation. It's opportunity. Tariffs meant to control Canada have pushed it to independence. Energy that once acted as a hidden subsidy for American prosperity, lowering transport, manufacturing, even grocery costs, is now flowing elsewhere. For U.S. refineries built around Alberta's crude, retooling will cost billions. For Ottawa, the new routes are already open. And it doesn't stop with oil and gas. When Washington slapped tariffs on Canadian copper, a critical metal for EVs, grids, and tech, Canada responded the same way. By turning east, Asia's demand is bottomless. Redirecting supply is not just possible, it's profitable. The consequences are global. Europe, shaken by the war in Ukraine, is already in talks to tap Canadian LNG for Atlantic supply. A three-ocean strategy is forming: Asia, Europe, and the Americas, positioning Canada as a true global energy power. What began as a silent tanker slipping into the Pacific is becoming a seismic shift in world trade. The United States, once confident in its dominance, now faces a future where Canada is no longer a silent supplier but a strategic player. The balance of power has changed quietly, steadily, and decisively.